I got a phone call in March of 2016 that would change my life. My mother called me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and her voice was panting as if she'd been exercising. "Mom, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" She was hysterical in her response. "They killed her. They killed her." My body was frozen from fear of who she could be talking about, and I waited what seemed like an eternity for my mother to choke over her words. "They killed my sister." Everything she said afterwards was muffled, as if I had been listening to her while being submerged underwater. My aunt, more like my sister, was dead. 23 years of precious life gone. Like this. Now, we were 1 year apart and grew up under the same roof, so when she died, a piece of me died with her. I was 22 at the time, still trying to navigate this complex world we call life, and I hadn't really dealt with the traumas I've experienced as a teenager. Now, I was responsible for dealing with the death of one of the closest people to me. I don't remember crying. I was hurt, I was numb, I was confused, and I felt betrayed by God. A piece of me had been stolen away. As time went on, I noticed something different about me. My heart hardened, I was angry, and I wanted vengeance. I pretty much hated the world as it was. Now, this is the first time I'm sharing this story publicly. People on the outside never really knew what I was battling because I masked it so well. And so to the outsiders, I was a mentor, a student, a veteran, a person with an affinity for nature and life. And on the inside, I was struggling. I was hurt, I was confused, and I was paranoid. I would oftentimes find myself looking over my shoulder, wondering if I was next. My thoughts and my feelings consumed me. I fell into these deep, dark depressions and would distance myself from the world, and then I would use marijuana to pull me back in. I was a wreck, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Eventually, I slowed my mentoring efforts down to a halt and set off on a personal transformation journey. And in this journey, the unexpected happened. I got a phone call from one of my mentors, Eddie. And he asked me what I was up to. And at the time, I was a pretty big deal. Well, at least I thought I was. I was working as a corporate security officer. And this is embarrassing to say, but I really felt like a member of SEAL Team 6. But in hindsight, I was more along the lines of Paul Blart Mall Cop. Eddie doesn't know this yet, but he saved me from extreme boredom by offering me a role as a job coach. Now, the caveat to this was that I'd be working with the same nature of violence that stole my aunt from me. Working with the population at highest risk of gun violence involvement. As a job coach, we offer them cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a behavior modification tool, and also subsidized employment for job readiness training. I had the privilege to work with this population on a deeper, more intimate level. And in the words of Polo G, I turned my pain into passion and I made it happen. As I progressed in this role, I came to realize that these guys were no different than me, and they made mistakes just as we all do. But what appealed to my heart the most was the longing and desire for something different, a better situation. In fact, I'm still connected with one of my mentees today, and he gave me a phone call. Now, I get a lot of phone calls. It's like my phone is a crisis hotline or something. I don't know. But I got a phone call, and he shared his excitement with the new role he had landed. Now, for him, this meant a new opportunity to improve his conditions and also to prove that he was no longer the person he used to be. I was extremely excited, and I really felt like a proud dad. But 2 weeks later, he called me, and I heard the disappointment in his voice. He said, "Jamal, I was let go because of my background. I was unsettled because I knew him, and I knew he wasn't what that piece of paper said about him." Now, keep in mind, this is not an isolated incident. Let's fast forward to March of this year. I got a phone call, I'm joking. Enough with the calls. But I ran into a mentee I hadn't seen in years. And we caught up, and he basically said in so many words that he was tired of being on his corner. He needed another job. He needed a chance. And my heart sank to my stomach, and I felt just as helpless as he did. Now let's fast forward and also keep in our mind that this mentee in this situation is not isolated. This happens to us all the time. In fact, it made me question, what is free? Who is free? What does this concept mean? A recent study conducted by Heartland Alliance revealed that there are 1,189 collateral consequences, which are additional penalties to having a criminal record. And of these consequences, 982 of them are barriers to employment. To put it another way, they are arrested, they are charged, they are convicted, and pay their debt to society. And then upon their release, they are told to stay out of trouble and also to get a good job because they are responsible for their post-incarceral fees. Keep in mind, there are 982 laws. 982 laws that makes it legal for companies and corporations to discriminate against them because of their background. Now, my mentor, Quentin Williams, said it best. He said that this is the prison after the prison. I mean, the collateral consequences, that is. Now, make no mistakes. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be held accountable for the negative choices. But still, how do we expect people to thrive in a system with a foot on their neck, to prosper in a system that aims to perpetually suppress and marginalize this certain group of people? Our country needs therapy. We need healing. Now, I took trainings on behavior modification and trauma-informed care, and what I realized was that these people, my people, are not criminals. They're not thugs. They're not super predators or any of these other labels. In fact, they are creators, they are intellects, they are healers, because they help heal me by helping me understand the conditions that forces them into flight or fight. I also realized that the person who stole my aunt from me, he wasn't a murderer. In fact, I don't even think he killed her. The conditions that caused his trauma killed my aunt. Now, my time as a job coach taught me a couple of things. One, trauma suffocates the child and births tragedy. Trauma suffocates the child and births tragedy. As children, we are innocent little booger snatchers who only wants to play games, eat candy, and quite frankly, wear our clothes backwards. My son does this all the time, and it drives me crazy. But we don't identify to these societal labels until we are oriented. The very essence of our nature is love. We get trapped in these consuming socialization cycles and are taught what and how to think. And when we get older and we experience life, layers are added and the child in its nature is suffocated. Two, I've come to realize that when it's difficult for us to forgive others, it's because we haven't learned how to forgive ourselves. Let me be the first to admit I make plenty of mistakes and I've learned from them. I've freed myself from the shackles of my past, and now I'm able to forgive other people. Three, we do ourselves a disservice when we judge without having a full understanding. Remember those layers? We must peel back those layers to get at the root cause of an issue or a problem. Now, without pivoting too much, I always question how our phones, household items, and cars come with directions and instructions, but yet we don't have any direction or instructions on how to manage our intra and interpersonal relationships. When I set off on my personal transformation journey, I created a system that I'd like to share with everyone here. And this system helped heal and transform me. I call it Amadi. The name Amadi has its roots in ancient Africa, and it means free man, and for others, free woman. The A in Amadi stands for assess. We must ask ourselves, why do we have these feelings? Where did these feelings come from? What are causing them? The M in Amadi stands for meditate. We must take a step outside of ourselves, look at the world around us, and ask how our thoughts and feelings could impact the world and the people in it. And then the A is for analyze. We must analyze 3 courses of actions, the outcomes and the responses, and then determine how our thoughts and our feelings could potentially impact the people we interact with. And then the D is to decide. Decide a direction based on your courses of action that treat others with the utmost dignity and respect. Make sure you include yourself. And then the I is investigate. We must investigate how we successfully or even unsuccessfully implemented our 3 courses of action into our intra and interpersonal relationships. Keep in mind that this is an iterative process. Now, when my aunt died, I was hurt and I wanted vengeance. I knew my thoughts and my feelings were fueled by my traumas. I knew that if I approached this new situation, I could potentially bleed on other people. I knew if I brought my emotional baggage into the situation, it probably wouldn't be the best for myself or for others. So I analyzed some courses of actions and I decided on a direction. And I chose to be vulnerable. I chose to share my wounds. I chose to heal as a collective. Now, looking back and investigating, I realized that this was the best decision I've made in my life. Before I end, I'd like everybody to take Amadi. I will encourage you to take it. Reflect. Use it to engage with yourself. Use it to engage with others. And I'd like to share with you a quote by Brian Stevenson. Brian Stevenson said, "Everyone is more than the worst thing they've ever done." Everyone is more than the worst thing they've ever done. So let go so that you can grow. Thank you.